Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast, and it is an exciting show because we have a guest joining us here tonight, and he is one that it's actually been a bit since he's joined the show. He's one of my best friends. He's one of Brandon's best friends. He's also wildly known as Mario Batanzi's wide receiver one.
Did you say wildly known?
Yeah, wildly known. Wide receiver
widely known. Just kidding.
Yeah. But because he is joining the stream, it is worth asking a question because it might get spicy in here.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I think I just saw him leave. Oh, never mind.
That's right, Pat. Is that?
I just watched that movie too.
It's gonna get spicy.
It's gonna get spicy. It is gonna get spicy. That movie, by the way, that is ranked number 1 on my MCU movie list. So,
as it should be.
I'm just
It
saying.
should be.
Yeah, if it's not one, it has to be at least.
Well, it's got to be 2 or 3,
or at least
it's got to be top 3. Got to be top 3. Guardians 3 might be number 2 now. It might be number 2.
It's not that high for me. It's not.
Oh man,
it's good.
I loved it.
It was good.
But Pat, welcome in, my boy.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back. It's been a long time. I haven't seen either of you in what seems like ages.
Ages, man.
But I'm happy to be back. It's hot up here in the Pacific Northwest. But I got AC.
I'll trade him. It rains every day here. Literally every single day. It's just pouring rain.
I don't want to hear it. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't want to hear it.
Dude, I'd rather have the heat, man. I want to go golfing. This ain't golf weather.
Boo hoo. Our golf season lasts approximately a month and a half.
Oh, that sucks.
All right. So the other 10 and a half months is rain.
That's
and
right.
I'm
Yeah.
sick of it.
Yeah, you guys get a lot of rain up there. But Pat, you are also a host with Boggins on the MHRT network as well.
Yeah,
so thank you
the
for
BPA
hopping. Yeah, so hopping on with us. Thanks for hopping on. We certainly have a lot to talk about today in terms of the schedule release, and that's obviously across the board. It's not just the Broncos, but it's across the board. So to kind of kick things off a little bit, what was some of your favorite schedule release videos? I mean, I'm guessing some of the familiar teams, I guess, that were.
I mean, I listen. As soon as I saw the Chargers one, it was game over for me. I was like, no one's gonna top this. The Broncos one, I liked it. I'm a big Office fan, so those callbacks were great, but just didn't have the. I need more. I need more creativity. Like the Chargers one was just like all the little details that they threw in there. Like when they showed like the Jets and it was Times Square and they had the like TikTok video where the girls, doing the little weird thing and the ball comes out of her butt like that. Undefeated.
Mike McDaniel vaping,
hitting the vape. Just like they pay attention. Their social media team pays attention.
As much as I hate to say this because it's the Chargers, they have to have unquestionably the best social media team in the league. It's insane. Give them every raise you can.
It's interesting though, because like if you kind of look back to like a few years ago, the Carolina Panthers were like that. Like the Carolina Panthers were like elite, and I mean they're pretty good now, but it's crazy to think of like where the Chargers have like kind of like blown that out of the water. However, there are probably a few teams that might have surpassed the Chargers as far as some of the best that were scheduled release videos. Like the Tennessee Titans wasn't that bad. I mean,
the Jaguars one was pretty cool too. I'll give them that.
I haven't seen all of them actually yet.
Basically,
I'll
the AFC South.
I'll save you the time, Brandon. I'll save you the time. The Cardinals one was by far the worst. It was just as bad as their New Jersey.
I never would have watched that anyway.
I know for a fact I know for a fact, okay, not only did they use ChatGPT to create their new uniforms, but they also used ChatGPT to create their schedule release video. And it was very obvious. Okay. All they did was type in, this was the prompt. Make me a video based on these people. And that was it. That's all they put in. And that's the product that they got out. Garbage in, garbage out, garbage franchise, end of story. But yeah, I think the Chargers one was the Chargers one was awesome. The amount of detail and time that they put into these things is really great. And I wish that more teams around the league would kind of take from that, like use this creative outlet. Like there's so many people on Twitter, there's so many people on Instagram that are waiting for these videos to be released. Like we all want to see the schedule. Yes. But like, let's do it in a way that is so appealing and so aesthetically pleasing that it's like, damn, like, okay, now I'm really hyped because this is the dead period. Yeah. What do we have to talk about right now? Like we're talking about the schedule release a week after, like, this is the dead time. So make it something
just go wild with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And especially considering
I wouldn't have the creativity to do this. Just personally,
yeah,
I couldn't do this. But
the amount of like the amount of time that the Chargers team had to put into that video, like all the artwork, all the little details, all the imagery, like it was insane. So shout out to them. Yeah. By far and away the best one. Blew me away 2 years in a row.
But it's interesting. You're talking about what you had mentioned earlier. It's kind of like the Super Bowl for the social media team. Like it's literally the Super Bowl for the social media team are these schedule release videos. And so when you have a downer like the Cardinals, it kind of like opens the door to like, how much do you cross the line? And like, so like selfishly to talk about the Broncos, like I wanted obviously, the George Payton, Sean Payton, either Peyton Manning, kind of like doing the Spider-Man meme. That's something I talked about like last week.
That's good. That's good.
But like, but I mean, at the same time, it's like the way this offseason has gone with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson and George Payton of just like being completely quiet and just the way things have gone really low key. It's like, well, then you're like, okay, that kind of makes a lot of sense. But then like, the selfish part is like, you do want them in there. And especially like for us, it's like, the self-deprecating humor would have been nice. Yeah.
I think, thinking back on the video release and how they did it, I think that there were definitely different ways. Like I said, I'm an Office fan. So like they could have had Sean Payton roll up in a convertible saying it's Britney bitch. Like, they could have done that. Good. Like the clam chowder thing was hilarious. Like I did love that callback. They could have I think there's so many things that they could have done with the material that the Office has given us. Like it's so many like pranks that Russ and one of the receivers could have done, or pranks that like Peyton and the mascot could do to the play. Like,
and it would be like an Office prank too, like between Dwight.
Yeah. Like they could have taken Russ's like wrist, his wrist coach, and put it in Jell-O. That would have been hilarious. That would have been fantastic. Hire me, like But I
will say
it is cool to see like all of these social media teams really band together and build like the Chargers. Their 2023 opponent tweet. The thread with all the Pop-Tarts. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was hilarious.
And that's like a standard.
Speaking of the Chargers video still, I don't know if you guys noticed this. There was like a massive Easter egg in like the Raiders part of the schedule release.
Yes.
There's two actually. Yeah. So one, like it's really easy to miss if you don't go back and like, what is that? So there's like a part of it where the anime characters like playing slots, and they get a cash out voucher for $72,750,000, which is what Jimmy Garoppolo is still owed.
Yeah.
But there's a QR code on the slip.
Right.
Yeah.
If you scan the QR code, it takes you to a page that's like, are you a Raiders fan or a Chargers fan? I don't know where the Chargers fan goes because I can't make myself click that. But if you click Raiders fan, it takes you to a Google search of how to get a job.
Right.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Like, see, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like,
I hate it, even though it's the Chargers.
Also, the like gambling addiction thing that they put in there.
Oh, yeah.
So funny.
It's
so
incredible.
Funny. You know, obviously.
Also, there's
serious.
like a not redeemable for wedding invite.
Dang.
Savage.
That's cold. That's cold.
Oh my god. It's so
and,
good.
and not to mention the Dak Prescott part with the bus. That's
I mean, they did show Russ.
That was pretty tame.
Fighting Patrick. So,
but on the bright side, like it was pretty tame compared to like some of those other teams.
It took me another watch to like really get like what they were trying to do there. I was like, that doesn't make it like. Why is Patrick holding this? And then I was like, oh my God, let him cook.
It took me a few. So the first time I saw it, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was like actually the subtle nod that they were trying to do, but I talked myself out of it because I was like, there is absolutely no way this is what they meant. But I was thinking that they were saying that he was square because he was against Patrick Starr.
I mean,
I refuse
to.
Wrong. I can't believe that they actually did that, but like also that I can. I can.
Oh
actually.
Man, they got us. They got us good.
They got us on that.
They got us real good.
They had us the first half. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right, guys. So diving into the Broncos schedule itself, I'll pull it up here. I will say on the surface, like off the naked eye, I love the balance. Like that's like one of the biggest things that certainly like stands out to me. And I love the fact that you have Vegas at the beginning and Vegas at the end.
Thank you.
And obviously one of the biggest things is one, the bye week, and two, screw the fact that you are playing Kansas City in Arrowhead in November or December. Granted, it's like this scene, you know, it's a nice callback to our Marvel video, but it's like, you know, a soul for a soul. It's like, you know, you have to give up something.
Yeah.
And you're basically doing the 2 of 3 against Kansas City again. But, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's just,
I'd rather play. I'm going to be honest. I'd rather play them twice in a month. I would rather play them twice in 1 month.
In this particular
play
month.
them. Yeah. In October. Absolutely. Yeah. I would definitely take that over having to play them like late in the year, like it's been the last 6 years. So
yeah, I will say I am happy that it's like that they're both in the first half of the season because they just get it out of the way. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Eat the frog, do the hardest part first. But I just feel like those 3 weeks are just 4 weeks are just brutal. I mean, Jets.
Yeah.
Unless Aaron Rodgers sucks, which could happen. That'd be hilarious. And then obviously KC, Green Bay. I mean, it's kind of a nice break, but it's still like Green Bay. I don't know. And then like KC again. At least they're 2 homes, and then it's the bye week. I mean,
I think
it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse.
And the tougher side of it is going to be like, you know, we're gonna see them play the Jets. Like obviously the Nathaniel Hackett storyline is going to be massive. Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. That defense as well, no joke. Like they on paper, that defense is nasty. On film, that defense is nasty. And they added some more quality pieces. They've added some quality pieces on offense this offseason as well. So that's going to be a tough game. But then it's the short week going into Kansas City that is killing me the most. Yeah. It's the fact that we have to play the Jets. That's going to be a tough game. And then you got to turn right back around and essentially
4 days later.
Yeah. I mean, you really only get 3 days of prep. So,
and you're going to KC.
Yeah. Obviously like so tough. Thursday night game, short week. Guys are going to be tired. Guys are going to be, you know, beat up, possibly some injuries. That's going to be a rough game. And that was one of the games that I think the Athletic said like that was the must watch game of the season, which like, okay, I get it because it's Sean Payton. It's his first game in Kansas City against a rival. Blah, 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 blah. It's on prime time. But that's going to be a rough game for Broncos fans to watch.
But I will say, if we find a way to win that game, the momentum will be legendary.
Huge.
Like that will be a season turnaround. It's honestly, I hesitate to say this because
a season turnaround. No.
Well, not a season turnaround. That's not the word I'm looking for.
That would be a
franchise
turnaround.
Yeah, it'd be a cultural shift for sure. I will say
for the rest of the season, it would elevate everything. So what I was gonna say, and I hesitate to say this because it's gonna sound stupid.
No.
But I almost feel like it's almost a kind of a win-win. And the reason I say that, you're going into that week, I feel like literally every single person is looking at that game, circling on their calendar and saying, we're going to lose this game. Like everyone's accepting that we're going to lose, which like, whatever. I mean, cool. It's at KC. It's a short week. Whatever. If we lose, Thursday. I'm not surprised. Right. Yeah. But if you win again, huge. So massive. I hate it, but also it's an opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, that first stretch of the season as well, like, you get Vegas. Who knows what that team's going to look like? I think Raiders fans are probably the only ones that are truly convinced that they will still be any resemblance of decent next season. The Commanders could be a tough game. That's a trap game to me. That is a trap game. Week 2 trap game. You're nuts. Week 3 at Miami in the humidity in September. Oof, that's going to be a rough game. And then Chicago. Who knows what this team's going to look like? They might be a completely different team this year. That offense might be elevated to the next level. They did a lot of work on. Yeah, you got to be able to contain Justin Fields. Luckily we have Pat Surtain, so it makes me feel pretty good about it. But I mean, it's still that's still a tough stretch. And then you go into the Jets, and then the short week, and then Green Bay, and then KC again. Like that's a tough first 8 games.
Now, and it's something we mentioned earlier, though, but like I would much rather have to begin the season these kinds of games because when you look at the rest of the schedule, there's that opportunity where you can be able to get hot. You can pull Detroit, right? Like you can pull Detroit. You can get your feet wet. You can get your offensive juices flowing and defensive juices flowing as a team, and get better as the season goes on. But it's also kind of like a mini murderer's row, but it's a tough one. But the one thing I will like about the murderer's row, though, and we didn't talk about this one, is that you do have the bye week placed at a pretty decent spot before you play Buffalo. So yes, Buffalo is like within that murderer's row, but like you do have the bye week like right after Kansas City, and so like there's at least that positive, knowing the fact that you have played Kansas City twice with Green Bay, and obviously the Jets. And I do think there's a distinct possibility that the Broncos are 4-4 heading into the bye week, or even worse, depending on what you guys said earlier, what happens with Washington, what happens with maybe Miami, what happens with maybe Chicago. Because like those are tricky teams. Like, I feel like Washington, Miami, not necessarily Chicago, but like Washington, Miami, sort of like Washington more so, but like kind of found themselves like where the Jets were, which is like they're a quarterback away, but their defense is pretty legit. Yeah. And, and it's also the beginning part of the season, which you have no idea, at one point, are they going to pull Sam Howell, to go to a different, starter like that early on in the season.
QB.
So
QB1 Sam Howell? Is that
what
we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that I was trying to find it here. I was trying to find Sean Payton's coaching record after a bye week. And really what I was able to find was he was 7-2 with the Saints after a bye week. So what does that tell me? That tells me that he does a lot of preparation during that bye week. That's not just a rest and recovery time. That is hey, we're still going to work. We're still going to, we're still going to get our stuff done. And it like you're playing at Buffalo, but coming off a bye week.
Right.
That's huge. And then you got primetime Kirk the week after that. Cleveland, I'm not really concerned about. They got a mess of mess of problems in their own right. But it's nice that they're going to come out of the bye week. They're going to face a couple of tough opponents, but then you got Cleveland, you got Houston. Chargers is probably a split series. I don't love that we're getting them late in the year, but that's probably a split series. Detroit, New England, and then Vegas. Like, I feel like all three of those games are winnable games for sure.
Detroit could be something though.
Detroit,
that team might be fun. I might turn into a mild Detroit Lions fan this season.
Oh, already been on the train, baby. Like, already been on. Watching Hard Knocks last year, there's no doubt in my mind that Dan Campbell is probably one of, if not the most likable, lovable coach in the NFL.
I'll show up to that game with 2 venti quad shot Starbucks, just as
my kind of guy. Like, but like just that team, their personnel, the way that they operate, that offense is probably the most efficient in the NFL. Even with Jared Goff, under center, like that's insane.
Solid. He's solid for them.
Solid, and that's all you need to be in that kind of offensive scheme. So, like, imagine if they did get someone like Anthony Richardson. That'd be kind of crazy. But that being said, I do think that Detroit will still be a tough game. I'm not saying that that's an easy win by any means. Like, this is not the Lions of old. This is a very tough and gritty Detroit team, and we have to see them late in the season. So,
and that's the thing that's the one area with that Detroit game that just has me a little weary because of the fact that Detroit was a hot team to end the season last year. And they were getting ready to get.
I had Amon-Ra St. Brown in my fantasy team. I know.
Yeah.
That season before that too.
and let's also what. And I was going to say, and let's not keep in mind too that Jamison Williams will be, I should say will be active by then. Who knows? Obviously with injuries and so on and so forth. Within this season, which by the way is like the biggest caveat, obviously with this.
I think he starts the season. I mean, he played at the end of last year, and
but wasn't he suspended for?
Oh yeah, like 6 games. But like,
I mean,
who cares?
He'll get his feet wet by then.
He'll be
fine.
He was just hitting a 10 parlay. It's fine. Whatever. The other guys are betting on NFL games. He's over there betting on.
He could be Jan Morant. Different sport.
Hey. Whoa.
It also could be, worse. It also could be worse. You could be a quarterback for the Denver Broncos, going to a casino on a date night. And then,
he looked rough. That looked like a man who just lost $20,000 at the blackjack table. Like, I know that look. I've seen it before. He lost a large sum of money after losing a football game. He's just like, please just end it now. Please end it now.
Not to have a gambling problem. But I will say, first of all, just to hop in here.
Yeah.
Clayton, my man, sounds like you said you sent a question. We didn't see that come through Facebook, so maybe try sending it again.
Yeah. Type it in the comments.
Tyler
also brought up Dolphins versus Denver.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Oh, that's going to be a game. This
Fangio revenge game.
This intro schedule is kind of scary, to be honest. Outside of Las Vegas,
it's not a cakewalk.
It's not.
That's what people need to understand. It's not going to be a cake. People are looking at it as, oh yeah, we got the Raiders first, easy win. Yeah, probably. And then Commanders, people are like, oh, easy win.
But it's so easy to see Washington and immediately think, terrible.
Yeah, hold the phone. Hold up, folks. That receiving core is nasty. That defense is nasty. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see Cortland Sutton versus Emmanuel Forbes, and here's why. Okay, Cortland Sutton's probably about 215 on a good day. Emmanuel Forbes is barely pushing 168.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brandon, how much can you bench?
Do you really want to know the answer to that question?
I do. Come on,
320 is my max right now.
Yeah, let's go. See that this is what I'm saying is like I'm pretty excited to see that matchup. Obviously like Chase Young is still there. Deron Payne's nasty.
Dude, Deron Payne scares me.
So scary. So scary.
Chase Young, obviously.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a good team on paper. Yeah. They were a good team last year. Like they just really, like you said, Cam, they're quarterback away. Is Sam Howell that dude?
Sam Hill.
Sam Hill.
Sam Hill. What in the Sam Howell?
What in the Sam Howell?
But we're making that into a meme. If we win that game, we got to make that into a meme. Even if we lose that game.
But yeah, I mean, they still have. You still got to remember they got Terry McLaurin.
Oh,
they got John Dotson. They got another receiver too. That's just nasty as well. And then their run game.
Still have Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson.
Curtis Samuel, I think is. Oh,
Curtis Samuel. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you. And then the other running back that they have, who is the rookie, like Brian Robinson, I believe. It's a good offense. Like if you have a quarterback who's semi decent and who can just control the game and control the ball, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you could put Kendall Hinton back there, and I'm going too far. But yeah, that's not a game to sleep at. It's not a game to sleep on. It's not a game to scoff at. Like they're going to be a tough opponent. And then going into the Dolphins game, Vic Fangio revenge game. They obviously have a lot of pieces. They got one of my favorite cornerbacks in the draft as well. I was honestly really mad about that. But that team, again, this is a team that has dudes. We've seen Tyreek Hill before. Jalen Waddle is just on another level. That's going to be a tough game, dude. Mike McDaniels is a great coach, and now he's got Vic Fangio in his back pocket. Like, I don't know. It's going to be rough.
One of the other, I feel a mixed bag here, but because and maybe it's the Seattle Seahawks PTSD, but I like the fact that you get the reunions done out,
Bradley Chubb too. No one said Bradley Chubb. The reunions out of the way, to begin the season, and then you get on to, the rest of the season. But I don't know, call it the Seahawks PTSD of what happened on the first game. But the fact that you have the Vic Fangio reunion, the Bradley Chubb reunion, you have the Nathaniel Hackett reunion. I mean, at least it's, there's at least that to get done right then. But you have no idea because you saw kind of how it was with the Seattle Seahawks first game, and it kind of set the tone, sadly, for the entire rest of the season. Well, one thing I don't see mentioned enough with the Dolphins, and I don't really know why, is you're giving Vic Fangio a guy like Jalen Phillips. I'm scared. Jalen Phillips is 23, and he's an absolute athletic freak. He had 7.5 sacks last year. This guy could explode. He's nice, and he could be nicer.
Yeah, he is a freak. He was one of my favorite edges in last year's class.
He's so good.
Yeah, crazy bend, crazy athlete.
It's just pure muscle. He's 0% body fat,
which is insane.
And he's
insane,
270 pounds.
Yeah, he's massive. And I mean, and Vic, we know Vic. Yeah. We know Vic very well. That defense is going to be very, very good. I would not be surprised if they're one of the top defensive units when the season is over. They just have so many that whole defensive line too is just full of guys that are impact players. And then you flip sides and you look at the offensive side. My biggest concern with Miami is Tua's oatmeal brain okay? Are we sure that he can correctly get the plays in? I don't want to crack jokes simply because it is a very serious thing. But at the same time, you're still letting him go out there. What are we doing?
Get Mike White with those weapons.
They have Mike White
do something.
They have Mike White. So
Skylar Thompson.
Mike White
could ball out in this offense. Yeah. If
we lose to Mike White,
the memes will never stop. The memes will never stop. Clayton did bring up a good point here. Healthy Russ, healthier run game. Javonte Williams is not completely healthy, but I'm fine. I'm fine with that. because I feel like they did fine bringing in other guys that will be good enough.
I say P. Ryan's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. P. Ryan's going to be fine. Jacques Patrick. Love that. Like big backs. That's the vibe here is big backs. Great receivers. Yes, we're getting Tim Patrick back. Please don't rush him back, but it's sounding like he's back and healthy. KJ Hamler is also on the mend from what we're hearing. That's good. You get Marvin Mims in the draft. You still have Court. You still have Judy.
We signed Marquez Callaway too. That guy
and Will Jordan
does nothing but just vibe with Sean Payton's offense.
Oh yeah,
he's automatic 600 yards.
Callaway, Humphrey too. Humphreys is going to be probably one of my favorite players in this offensive scheme. Just the way that they're going to move him around, use him as a tight end, you use him in blocking situations, and then he's also a big target. Like that's going to be great. Dolchich, cannot wait
so
to see
for Dolchich, man.
Yeah, cannot wait.
I'm hyped.
I was really high on this tight end class, and I think a lot of other people were. I'm not disappointed that they didn't go get a tight end in this class, but I'm going to say, to Clayton's point, we might see the Broncos. This is going to be my hot take. Hot take pack is here.
All right.
The Broncos might be a top 3 scoring team in the NFL this year.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say like top 3 rushing offense.
No. Scoring.
I would cry.
Because here's the thing. Okay. 2005 New Orleans Saints. Okay. They averaged 14.7 points a game. 31st.
Sounds familiar.
In the league. 31st. What did they do in Sean Payton's first season? 25.8 points per game. 5th in the NFL. That's an insane jump.
And let's not forget too, like you said, his first season, like that was also, I think, the year when they traded for Drew Brees.
Yes, it was.
And so, I mean, like again, like not to come full circle, but it's just like this is one of those things. Like it goes back to maybe the marriage between Russ and Sean, and you just you have that idea. Maybe it is going to work out, but I'm kind of like of the mind too. It's like not to do like a big callback because Russ has been in the league for a long time, but like he has been like the most successful. When you go look at his college tape, he was incredible in the Wisconsin offense. But if you go back and look at the Wisconsin offense, they were nothing but running the football and off the play action, and that's kind of
he ran the football, but
gap power scheme. That is what they ran at Wisconsin. They were very successful with it. Ironically enough, who was the running back? Melvin Gordon. We're not gonna talk about that guy. But it was the same thing in Seattle. It was the same exact thing in Seattle. They ran the ball. You hit him with play action. Ran the ball. Let Russ do his thing. Ran the ball. Just give him a healthy running game. Last year, they had no idea what they were doing. Offensive line coach didn't know what to do. He was leaving Post-it notes on players' lockers saying, fix this. That's not coaching. They hated him. They hated that guy. Nathaniel Hackett was way in over his head, didn't have an offensive identity, didn't have an offensive scheme going in. Russ was trying to do too much. I want to see Sean Payton come in and just say, enough. This is how we're going to do things. We're doing this by my book. It's my way or the highway. And this schedule is going to be a really, really big test.
Right.
Not just for the Broncos as a team, but I feel like this is going to be a huge test for Russell Wilson's overall legacy. Can you bounce back from a bad year? Can you work well with a Hall of Fame coach if you are a Hall of Fame player after such a bad season?
And let's also think back to like
if he doesn't, are you a Hall of Fame player? Is going to be the question.
Right. And don't quote me on this, but it's like, if I'm not mistaken, like on his last year with Seattle, like didn't he start the year, or his second to last year with Seattle, didn't he start off like on a hot streak?
That was
like
the beginning of the let Russ cook thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like
he went nuts for the first 5 weeks. And then I think that was when he had his broke his thumb. Or
Yeah,
something.
he
and then he came back too quickly.
Fractured.
So, I mean,
thumb.
It's possible, and especially now that Russ is in really good, health condition. I mean, like his body looks great.
10 pounds.
He looks great.
He looks so much.
Yeah.
He looks great.
I saw him in the Nuggets game yesterday.
Yeah. But I mean, so it's certainly possible that the Broncos will get a decent, size sample, if you will, for Rush for a full season. But one thing I was going to ask, and obviously you touched on this a little bit as far as a trap game with the schedule. You said Washington is a trap game, like early on, like Washington. Yeah. But is there another trap game for you guys? Because part of me, this is going to sound a little bit crazy to a certain extent, but the Houston game going into Los Angeles is kind of one that I'm kind of eyeballing. It's not so much like it's a winnable game. It's a winnable game, but at this point in the season, you're also sitting at the point where I don't know, that was right around where CJ Stroud went off against Georgia. It was it was the ideal moment where CJ Stroud really hit his Stroud to play on words.
That's funny.
I don't know, the Houston game.
So I'm not going to say this is a trap game, but I think Chicago is going to be difficult. Way more difficult than people maybe even think.
At Chicago?
At Chicago. Obviously, we know Justin Fields as a runner, who's ridiculous. He also just kind of started to turn it on. He has turned it on a little bit recently, just as a quarterback in general. He's on the up. He could explode this year. I am really excited to see him with actual weapons. DJ Moore in Chicago with Justin Fields could be terrifying.
Crazy.
But also good for DJ Moore. Bro was sad in Carolina, but he's happy now. Darnell Mooney is just a good wide receiver. And then there's the whole, what is Chase Claypool? But I think that could be a hard game. But if I was going to go with a trap, what I think is legitimately a trap game, is I would agree with Clayton and I would say Detroit.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think Detroit's going to be better this season. And usually when we think of trap games, it's the team that bad teams that you should beat, right?
If we're going by that definition, I wouldn't say Detroit.
Because
I don't know if I would say Detroit by that definition, because they're not a bad team.
No, and that's why I actually agree with Cam here. Is I think Houston that late in the season, say what you want about Houston, their offensive line, they've got dudes on their offensive line to protect CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is going to have good running backs behind him. D'Amico Ryans I'm pretty sure they're going to be using a Shanahan style offense, but they also have some wide receivers in that room as well. And they just got Tank Dell in the draft as well. John Mechie III is coming back from his cancer scare. That's going to be an insane weapon for him to use. They did get Robert Woods, that's going to be the savvy vet in the room. And then, who's the other receiver that they have from Michigan? Who I really, really love him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Not Ronnie Bell. No, you're saying the one that
Ronnie Bell's not out here. They have right now. Hang on. Let me see it. All that to say, I think that Houston that late into the season, I think they're going to be hitting some strides. That defense, don't play with that defense. They've got some dudes on that defense, and that is a trap game. That's a trap game. We look at Houston right now. We look at Houston right now. Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Bunch of young dudes still trying to ball out for their new head coach. That's what we're thinking of them right now in the preseason, week 1, week 2, week 3. Yeah. You go into week 13, we don't know. D'Amico Ryans could be one of the better coaches in the NFL. That defense is going to be good. We know that. San Francisco's defense was good because of their scheme. It's probably going to carry over to Houston. It just depends on how the offense pans out. And if they're hitting a stride, they're running the ball well, and our defense can't stop the run, that's going to be a win for Houston. I'm sorry to say.
Well, and I will say, I feel like we were in that position
Nico
last
Collins.
year. Okay, and Nico Collins is also.
Nico Collins, yeah. And Xavier Hutchinson, too.
I don't disagree with like the Houston selection, but what I was going to say was we were kind of in that position last year because the first few games, obviously it was horrible, but you also kind of had that, we're going to turn it around. We're not actually this bad. And week 13, we were still that bad. So you never know. I mean, do I think that's going to happen with Houston? No, just no. But I mean, you never know.
Here's another, one maybe. Now, granted, Pat put the definition perfectly, but funny enough, it's another team that you play before the Chargers. But what about New England?
What about them?
I mean, like, what would you would that be considered a trap game before you play the Chargers again at home?
I'm gonna put it to you this way: Bill Belichick was trying to trade Mac Jones 2 weeks before the draft. They hired Bill O'Brien to be their OC. Not a bad move.
No,
not a bad move. But you hire him and then you try to trade your quarterback
who has familiarity with.
Come on, that team. Look, the defense probably going to be very good this year. The defense is probably going to be very good. The offense is going to see an uptick from last year, but it's really hard to go from straight dookie to immaculate. Like they're going to be an upgrade if they can get even a little bit better from last year.
They could be zapping people by week 16.
They could be. They absolutely could be.
No one got it. No one got it at all.
I got it.
I did. But see, here's the thing, though. It's zappy. So
yeah.
Which by the way, love Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
QB1 all the way. I don't know. I don't think I see New England as a trap game ever. Because they're always going to be in games. They're always going to be in games. And it really doesn't matter who they have. But the fact that they added Christian Gonzalez to that defense and Marte Mapu, Keon White,
nasty. Better yet, the draft, the way things fell, actually had Christian Gonzalez fall to the New England Patriots. That's probably one of the.
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. I don't want to talk about that.
All I know is if Juju makes another TikTok on the Broncos logo, he gone.
Listen, I love that Kareem Jackson is back because all I need is just one solid smack of Juju and everything's going to change.
Just like DeAndre Hopkins, against the Texans. Just like that.
I was thinking more Vontaze Burfict, Antonio Brown, but that's fine too.
Okay.
Just one of those. I
was thinking more, Christian Okoye, Steve Atwater.
Maybe JL Skinner is playing Skinner by that time and dude,
man, I hope so.
Let's move away from the schedule really quick. I know that you guys have already talked about draft class, but we got 15 minutes left. Let's talk about this Broncos draft class, okay? Because I know a lot of people wanted certain dudes and draft boards fall the way that draft boards fall. I love this draft class, man. I think that this was a great draft class. I think that this was, despite not having the first round pick or the second round pick, I feel like they did a very good job at adding depth and adding talent in key areas. They got several guys that I considered to be my guys. I wasn't super hyped on the Drew Sanders pick at first, but now I'm thinking, okay, maybe they can use him in different ways. But what did you guys think, specifically the two of you, what did you guys think about these draft selections and what their impact could be, even as rookies?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that when you look at the draft class, I think one of the things that Brandon and I kind of said is you definitely question, I think, some certain selections, or maybe not necessarily the actual player, but maybe the thought process that maybe went into it. Like for instance, like the trading up and getting Riley Moss. It isn't necessarily like Riley Moss, the player, but it's the fact of like, giving up so much and, getting a player like that. But I will say, like, for only having the 5 picks and the way that they did the maneuvering in and out of the draft and still managing to keep those 5 picks or keep 5 picks, and those 5 picks basically resulting in players who more than likely should have been drafted a lot higher. I mean, like, what's there to argue about? I mean, like, it's hard to argue that, because it's like, I mean, like, especially cases like, J.L. Skinner or even Alex Forsythe.
Seventh round?
Which is crazy, because like typically, and I'm sure you guys talk about it all the time on your BPA show, but it's like, you're kind of throwing darts in the 7th round. And this is something that Brandon and I talked about, but it's like, at the same time, this felt like a dart, but also a need, because at that point in the draft, like the Broncos like hadn't addressed center or even offensive line, like at that point in the draft. And so it was like the fact that it went center that late was like a dart and a need, like all in one. And the fact it was a guy that probably comes highly regarded from a lot of people that you interact with on social.
Yeah, I mean, Forsythe as a 7th rounder, that's not just like throwing a dart at the board. That's throwing a dart at the board and hitting a bullseye, like right dead center. This was a guy that was like really overlooked, played extremely well against really good competition. I mean, go watch his game against Georgia. He was owning Jalen Carter for the majority of that game. Brandon, what about you? How do you feel about these picks and what kind of impact they'll make?
So we talked about this in our last episode, and the question that Cameron asked me was, do I feel like this moves the needle for me? Like, what pick moves the needle the most? Or like, what makes me, I don't remember the exact question, but it was like something about what's going to have the biggest impact. And my answer was kind of like, it was a bit boring and whatever, but none of them, honestly. And the reason I say that, I like all the picks for what we did, for what we had for having 5 picks. I like all of them. I think they're really good. Drew Sanders, I was right with you. I was like, when we first drafted him, who? Ooh. That's on me.
Who? Oh, that's definitely on you.
That's on me because, like, I will say again, the draft kind of snuck up on me this year. Like, I really was not following it at all.
Yeah.
Because I've just been busy and we had a super late pick, and it's like I knew very little, like less than I normally would. But then I look into it more. He's now my favorite pick. But
favorite.
I will say, I'm standing by it. Okay. But the more I look at it, I mean, I still think the reason I say none of them in terms of like what's going to make the biggest impact is because I've definitely been that person before, and as recently as like 2 years ago, where I was like, oh, we won the draft, I'm going to give it an A. This is amazing, whatever. Which like I even then, like, I knew it was stupid, but even more now, I'm like, these guys have played literally 0 snaps in the NFL. They could be incredible, or they could be horrible. Alex Forsythe could literally beat out Lloyd Cushenberry in training camp. I mean, probably not, but he could. Or Marvin Mims could not make this. I mean, he's not going to not make the roster, but he could not start. I mean, you never know, right? That's kind of my point. But I will say, for what we had, I like the picks. The only one that at this point, like looking back at it, not that I'm questioning it at all, but just like the Marvin Mims selection just makes me raise my eyebrows a little bit. Not in a bad way, but just like something's happening there. There's something happening in that room. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's happening. He's a good player. I have nothing against the player, but just
do you want to know? Do you want to know what's happening in that room?
I do want to know, but let me finish my thought train here. Drew Sanders, I've said it already. He is now my favorite player that we've picked. This guy, I am so excited to see him play. I don't even care if he plays inside or outside or both. It looks like it's more inside now, which I'm not mad at. This guy is an athletic freak. That story of him making that pick of Ben DiNucci in front of Greg Penner and then Peyton being like, you're going to be a Walmart reader. Incredible. Love it. But Drew Sanders just screams athletic monster that can make a massive impact and almost be, I mean, again, I'm saying this and the guy's played 0 snaps. Like, I know how ridiculous this sounds, but just the way that he does things, slight Micah Parsons-ish. Like, just a little bit.
Not going to argue with that. Not going to argue with that.
I love it.
Yeah,
versatility.
I love
that guy, Baron Browning, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
I'm so excited to see that.
I feel the exact same way. And I did watch a lot of him. My biggest gripe during the draft process on Drew Sanders was like, because people were saying like, oh, he's best linebacker in the class. I didn't get that. I
thought the whole like, first round talent thing was a bit high.
He's an athletic freak.
But I think he slipped more than he should have. Go ahead.
Oh, definitely. Like I didn't think he was going to go first round. I saw him as like a early second round, mid second round guy. My biggest thing was just, I felt like he was a little trigger happy at times. It's very much the see ball, get ball linebacker mentality that a lot of guys have. But man, his sideline to sideline speed, his closing speed, Ben Albright was talking about that. Yeah, he does. And that's kind of the feel that I get from this class, like as a whole, like, yes, Sanders. And you brought up a great point.
We haven't even talked about my boy yet. J.L. Skinner, man. Him
coming off of the edge with Brown, and they've talked about already having that in the plan. Him coming off of the edge with Baron Browning in those critical situations, third down, obvious passing situations, that's going to be massive because his athleticism, you get him working with the edge group and the coaches, and you get him with a good pass rush plan, it's going to be disgusting. Yes, JL Skinner. Let's talk about it.
God,
The fact that they got him in the sixth round. Sixth round.
If you swap, if we traded up to 83 for JL Skinner and we got Riley Moss at 1 and 83, I would love it. I would love it.
Yeah.
We got JL Skinner 100 picks later. Insane. JL Skinner, and I feel bad saying this, and the reason I say that is because like I feel like I've been pretty upfront about my love for Caden Stearns, and I want to see him play more in this defense because he deserves it, and I just want to see what he does with it. And just like, please give him more playing time, but also JL Skinner is a dog, and please give him more playing time.
Yeah,
we have too many safeties.
And that was
not possible. It's not possible, but I'm just saying it now in emotion.
He was a menace.
He is so good.
At the Senior Bowl.
He wants to hurt people.
He was a menace at the Senior Bowl. I implore both of you, go back and watch the clips of him at the Senior Bowl, like rerouting receivers during the one-on-ones. He's a bully. He's a bully. He was literally just out there to hit people, which is great because that's the style of defense that Sean Payton loves to see. We saw it in New Orleans. I think in his last year in New Orleans, Steve Atwater is very happy, and he's big too. He's like 6'4", massive. In Sean Payton's last year in New Orleans, I think their safety room was pretty big. So they like to utilize those safeties in different situations. I didn't think after drafting JL that they were going to bring back Kareem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't either.
Well, and I'm
not mad that they did. I'm kind of glad that they did.
No.
Well, and I think the thing that I also like about it, and you guys touched a little bit on them with certain selections, but it's like you also get the feeling like on certain players, it's also role-defined players early on in their careers. Like Marvin Mims is going to play early.
Yeah,
I mean, and guys, right, and Drew Sanders and JL Skinner, and maybe even Riley Moss within that as well. But I mean, it's just like 4 of the 5 because it's hard to break with Alex Forsyth, as we said earlier. But it's like role-defined players. There's a certain possibility like they are just used in certain packages. For instance, like against the Kansas City Chiefs, where you just need that extra body to be, to a mirror Travis Kelce or whoever it is that they are matched up against. Like having that kind of role-defined, process early on will help you in your transition, as a first-year player. And so I think that like that's the other part of this is like guys like JL Skinner, who he's literally got the size of like a Cam Chancellor, who's a guy that he's literally said he loves and has like admired his game after. So I mean, like, Skinner, Sanders, the Brandon brought this up when we talked about Drew Sanders, but the play when he tracks down Bryce Young and that sideline to sideline speed is just
that's
insane.
what made it my favorite pick. I went back and watched that.
if you guys go back and look at some of the stories of players at Alabama when Drew Sanders went to Alabama, all of them, athletic freak. Like this, he's a monster. Where did he come from? Like he was like the most athletic prospect coming out of Texas that they'd seen in like years. So it's no surprise to me that like he's gonna be used in a number of ways. They're gonna use him on special teams. They're gonna use him in dime and nickel packages. I think, and then they're gonna use him off the edge. Micah Parsons' role, Brandon, you hit it right on the head. Going back to the offense, though.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Alex Forsyth, please? Is that where you were going?
So, yes. I think that this is going to be a redshirt year for Forsyth.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to, like, they're going to prep him to take over next year. That's, like, my gut feeling. I think that he's like the consummate professional. And he's really the type of player that Sean Payton would love at center. You look at the guys that he's worked with in the past and the way that they've developed into very good players at that position. Alex Forsyth comes into the league having the knowledge, having communication skills, playing in high level games against high level opponents. He has that experience. This is just going to be one of those years where it's like, hey, we need you to catch up to speed, to NFL speed, learn the offense, learn the lingo, get with your offensive line, make sure that you have checks and everything's set up and ready to go. And then next year, hey, Lloyd, thanks so much. We love you. Peace out. Alex Forsyth is now the new center. But Marvin Mims.
Oh, okay.
What's
going to happen in that room, Patrick? Tell me.
A lot. There's a lot going on. Court's almost traded. Comes down to like a last minute thing where he is a Raven. I was told that he was a Raven. I was told that he was a Raven, and then it was like, hold up, something happened.
Homo beer.
Yeah. So there's that.
Fax machine broke.
The fax machine. Fastgate 2.0. But real quick, Marvin Mims is a special receiver. He's not the biggest receiver, but he plays so much bigger than his size. And it's very obvious when he goes up for 50-50 balls. It's very obvious when he's running his routes. It's very obvious when he's working across the field, middle of the field. He plays a lot bigger as a receiver than you would think. Kind of like Marquez Callaway, who is not the biggest dude, but he plays a lot bigger than he is. I think that we're going to see a lot of Marvin Mims this year. KJ, like, I love KJ to death. I think he's probably one of the funniest dudes on the team and probably one of the most athletically gifted. But here's the thing. If you can't get on the field, you're not going to play in the NFL for very long. And that's just the harsh reality of it. And as much as I love KJ, Marvin Mims is going to be in that role as well. So they're going to have a great battle. I think Marvin Mims' special teams ability is going to be kind of the difference maker, but I really wouldn't be surprised to see them carry 6-7 receivers into this season.
The one thing I just want to ask you about something you said there is because you talked about how much we're going to use in this year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, wide receiver is one of those positions that as a rookie, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough to break into it, get used to it, and get meaningful snaps. And there's nothing against Marvin Mims. That's just the position in the NFL.
Yeah.
Tight end is even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Center, tackle, just those positions that just like not the non-running back. Like running backs, rookies, they just tear it up, right? But wide receivers, like, what do you think about that? Like, do you think Mims is so athletic that he kind of
Yeah, I think that
is a bit above that?
I think they're going to find ways to get him the ball. Sean Payton loves to play the vertical game. I think that he's going to be able to stretch the field very well. He's a very crisp route runner.
So moonballs to Marvin Mims.
Yeah, we're going to see moonballs. We're going to see him kind of move around a little bit. But but I think it's just going to be a different vibe. Like Sean Payton is going to use him in ways. You get you as an offensive play caller, you want to get the ball in the hands of your best offensive player every single time. So he is going to find a way to use Marvin Mims. I'm very excited to see how it is, but I am a little nervous of who's going to be the odd man out. And right now, it's feeling like it's KJ. It's feeling like it's Montrell. It's feeling like it's Kendall. Like, all three of those guys, they might be out. So
and Brandon's heard me use this comparison before. I don't know if I told you, Pat, but it's like to use a Broncos wide receiver comparison and kind of like one of like Sean Payton's past. Marvin Mims reminds me a little bit of Brandon Cooks mixed in with another Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah.
So,
not me.
No, I mean, Brandon Lloyd, sticky hands, crazy body control. Like that's what you see when you watch Marvin Mims play football. Like the body control for a guy who's 5'10", 5'11", playing Z outside receiver and getting those 50-50 balls. Like it's just insane to watch.
Texas Tech catch. Holy shit.
Yeah. So yes, Brandon Cooks, the speed, you think of the speed, the athleticism, you think of Brandon Cooks, you think of the hands, the body control, you think of Brandon Lloyd. I think that's great comps, Cam.
But before I try, I promise I have a brain up here. So What a Beast, before we tie things off here, did ask regarding the draft. And I don't know if we touched on this, but whose fingerprints, and this is, I'll just direct this for you, Pat, because I think Brandon and I have talked about it before, but whose fingerprints did you feel was most within this draft? He did say equal is certainly an option, but do you have a certain preference of how it was going down?
Looking at it, part of me wants to say that it was a little bit of both. But man, this really feels like a Sean Payton draft to me. Like you're building depth, you're building special teams. Like look at those first few picks: Drew Sanders, special teams ability; Riley Moss, special teams ability; Marvin Mims, special teams ability. And then you go into J.L. Skinner, special teams ability; Alex Forsythe, hey, we're going to build our offensive line. Give us a year or two. This feels like it's a Sean Payton draft. Broncos special teams last year were terrible. They needed to get some new faces in there. They needed to get some better athletes in there. They did that in this draft class. I'm really happy about that, but I definitely think that this is more of a Sean Payton class than it is a George Payton class.
Yeah, part of me, I guess the selection that makes, it makes me think that, there we go. I guess the selection that makes me think it's also slightly a George Payton draft is just because of his love for corners and him wanting to draft corners every single draft. And so, of course, that's the Riley Moss pick. And so
for the secondary.
Yeah.
Hey, all this talk about Riley Moss being a white cornerback and this and that, like, let's look at metrics, man. He was one of the most athletic cornerbacks. Freak athlete. And he wasn't even the best white cornerback on that team.
Oh,
there's another kid over there who's even whiter than he is, and he's even better.
Maybe even better, yeah. Yeah.
So let's hey, I can't wait to see what Riley Moss does. Obviously we still have Mathis. That was probably my favorite pick from last year's class, looking back now as a whole.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what Moss can do. Injuries are going to hit the group at some point. They did last year, which is what caused Mathis to have to step up, and he stepped up in a big way. So let's see how Moss handles it, man. And
he started 40 games at Iowa.
Yeah, and
a bunch has experience, man.
Bunch of PBUs. Really solid special teams guy. Like, gimme.
So, okay, who was your favorite pick in this draft? Because you know mine.
Oh, dude, J.L. Skinner. Like that was the dude I was pounding. I was pounding the table for him. Like
fair. That's fair.
Before the injury, I think he broke his arm or something like that at the Senior Bowl. Before the injury, I was like, man, this guy's gonna go late second, early third. Like it's going to be nuts. And when I saw the notification come across my phone, I was like, oh, thank you. And then the Alex Forsyth pick, and I was just like pounding the table. Pounding the table.
I think Jeff Schwartz said it best when he's like, that guy's going to play in the NFL 10 years.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, Pat. So rounding this all out, you obviously do the show with the BPA, and you are a writer with me. You can't avoid me, I guess, but you are a writer with me over at Predominantly Orange. Right. But what do you got cooking in the works over here? Man. Somewhere else.
Do you smell what Patrick's got cooking?
Yeah, Chef Patty's cooking up something big. Man, big announcement. And it feels good that I can finally say this like out in the public. So I did announce last month that I would be doing a Broncos show for the Believe Network, and we were trying to find a co-host for me. I'd love to do a show on my own, but two's always better. So I will be doing this Broncos show with Super Bowl 50 champion Chris Harris Jr. I'm so excited to be doing this show with him. I cannot wait. We met today, had a great conversation, and we're going to be cooking some stuff up in the beginning of June. So be on the lookout for that. I will still be with the BPA show going forward. But Chris is super excited. He is so happy to get back into Broncos country and just talk football. This guy loves Broncos. He loves Colorado. Like, I promise you, Broncos country, he has not wavered one bit. We've already got some ideas for guests. A lot of that Super Bowl 50 team could be coming back, especially a guy whose jersey number was like 58 or something like that. So it could be, it's going to be an awesome time. I'm really excited. The Believe Network's really excited to have Chris, and Chris and I are both super ecstatic to get started. So can't wait.
And for the record, for the listeners, it's not actually spelled like believe. It's BLEAV.
Yeah.
just for the record. And yeah, it's a great network. Obviously, me being a Cornhuskers fan, I listen to some of the stuff from there. But like they do, I think the cast of characters that they have there is like the main host. But like the two other people that are there are the two other Heisman trophies that Nebraska's had, which is Eric Crouch and Johnny Rodgers. Which, I mean, that kind of speaks for it's big names. So that speaks for itself with what the network of Believe, is cooking over there. So Pat, I am so excited for you. And, I tell you, you are definitely been one of those like thorough guys and detailed guys. And so to kind of see you get that big stage,
Jeez. Making me blush over here, man. Wow.
Thank you. I'm happy, man, for you. For sure. And so just can't wait till I can, hop on and, as a guest, and obviously Brandon. Yeah. So, I mean,
we'll get you scheduled in. Just keep a lookout for that. We should start recording here in the next 2-3 weeks. So, like I said, Chris is super stoked. I'm super stoked. I cannot wait to do this. It's going to be awesome.
Make sure you follow Pat at Patrick Coyote. He is the wide receiver one that is of Mario Vitanzi's football league. Yes, I have to finally admit it, as badly as I have to admit it. One, because I don't want to do this Oklahoma drills, so I don't get killed.
Hey, Chris and I might be able to set up that Melvin Gordon Oklahoma drill now. So
Melvin Gordon is a large human being.
So
low man wins. Low man wins, Cam.
Do we need to preface this real quick, like the backstory of this, Pat?
Cam was talking mess about Melvin Gordon on Twitter, and I said do Oklahoma drill with him, and I think he liked it or quote tweeted it or retweeted it or something like that. But that's where the joke comes from. So now every time I got to remind him.
Yeah, and it all started with a troll. Because I selected Najee Harris or something with like the Broncos.
Oh, that's right.
And it all started with that, and then Gordon just ran off with it. But yeah. So anyway, make sure you follow Pat at Patrick Coyote and the BPA Show and the work that he's doing. And then once that that show comes about with the Believe Network, make sure you follow that and subscribe to that network as well, because they're going to have a lot of Broncos content over there. Make sure you follow Brandon as well at Brandon Miller PO, myself, and Cameron Parker PO, and then the Manely Broncos Twitter handle at Manely Broncos. And Maddie unfortunately is not here tonight, but you guys can follow him as well.
Brandon just made it seem like Maddie was like gone forever. Like
no, this is for Cameron when he does the Oklahoma.
Oh. That's been the theme between Pat and I, is like, you know, are you sure you want to do this? Because like you might actually end up like that. But yeah, so anyway, thank you guys so much for hopping in. Just and also of note, both Brandon and I will not be a part of the Manely Broncos stream next week. We will still do a Manely Broncos stream, but we'll have some other people, and we'll keep you updated with it. That we'll do the Manely Broncos podcast this upcoming Wednesday, and then Brandon will be back the following week, and then I will be back the week of June 5th. So I will be back on the week of June 5th, and so yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. Getting ready to do a trip myself, so much needed vacay. So I'm certainly excited about it. But again, love you guys, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Manely Broncos podcast.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.